I want to see what's out there, what to expect and what not to expect. As I'm scanning the horizon, I'm always looking for movement. A big brown blob out there. And then the anticipation kind of builds up, and then once I spot that wildlife, it's kind of like a, oh yes moment. People will ask me like, oh, what are you looking at? And I always offer that extra scope up.
Oh my goodness.
There you go. For anyone who wants to just come up and take a quick look.
Oh. Looks like put his head out.
To my surprise, it's always awesome to see their reaction to things of like, oh my God, I can see it, or like, oh my God, it's out there. And you know, oftentimes I see people like walk away with like tears in their eyes, and like I start tearing up. The best part about this job is getting to experience people's firsts with them, especially if it's their first time here in Yellowstone National Park. Earlier this summer, I've met a few individuals in their late 70s and 80s and who would turn to me and be like, I waited my whole entire life to see Old Faithful. To me, it's just like, wow, and I get to be here every single day. For me, that's like a really incredible experience that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to experience because of lack of resources. A few weeks ago, I had a lot of young adults who kept telling me that the best experience out of everything that they've seen were just actually the night skies. Seeing the night sky, seeing a sky without smog or light pollution, it's like the smallest details. And for them, it means the world because they grew up, and I grew up in a world thinking there is no beauty other than fluorescent orange lights. My name is Anna Lay, and I am an environmental educator here in Yellowstone National Park. So I started off when I was in college being very, very focused on research and academia. I was so integrated in working with governmental agencies, pushing for change within policies. It shifted my entire perspectives, like actually being on the ground, talking to people about science and making it understandable, and less so of the jargon and making it more fun for kids to actually understand too, so they actually grow up and care more about what's going on in our real world. Yeah, it's a curse and a strength at the same time, which kind of sucks. Like there are some like really, really, really horrible, just incredibly tough days that I go home just like bawling my eyes out, thinking like, what the hell am I doing in this world right now? Like, am I even making a difference? When you go home from like a tough day of work, it's just like, are you making an impact? For me, it's just like, as an educator, there's only so much you can do. It's always like these organizations who want to quote unquote diversify the workplace for a check mark, and less so of actually creating a space that is sustainable for the long run. I want to be a part of that culture that actually like goes to work to do the work and not quote unquote be the change. You know, like I don't want to be there to be your token person. Hey Gabe.
Hey Anna, how's it going?
I think it's really important to have a person like Gabe, just because it's so easy to have someone who kind of relates in this field specifically. And when I can come to him with these like problems or like happy days, it's like he already understands and gets it. And then for his mentorship as well, it's like he understands what I'm going through and also can offer advice.
Yeah, sorry.
My heart is like broken right now. Like talking about the word wilderness, what wilderness means, and that now, as of today, the land is wilder than it was before, And so I would raise these questions of like, what does that necessarily mean? Because the concept of being wild and in wilderness, but then you're not acknowledging the people who came before because of the forceful removal of people off the land.
Just like you said, it's the idea of wilderness or wildness, and that's ingrained in so much of the like Western environmental culture. It's like that idea that the landscape was barren and it's untouched and it was unused, and it ignores the indigenous contributions done, to this day by indigenous people in various areas.
And also not acknowledging all of the communities, especially BIPOC communities, who have suffered throughout creation of the wilderness culture, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why are we still talking about John Muir and Aldo Leopold and Theodore Roosevelt when there are so many other people who've been doing this work and not getting acknowledged, and they've been on this land for thousands of years, and then here we are like idolizing these like 3 old white men. Like, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Yellowstone National Park was the first ever national park created in 1872. That Roosevelt Arch is a very prominent, literal gateway to Yellowstone National Park. And in the front of it, the quote says, "For the enjoyment and benefit of the people." What kind of people are they talking about? It's predominantly like the rich, wealthy white people back in the day who could afford to come to Yellowstone National Park. To me, that's like symbolic of like gatekeeping specific communities from coming into natural spaces. For me to see that quote, it's like the reminder of the people means that there's only a select community that this was made for. So if I could, I would also rewrite the quote, crossing the to all people, because the times have changed. Let's start a better example and push it forward. Being a part of the system is learning how to work together with one another and also being more inclusive and open and inviting to new ideas as well. My expertise is in like aquatic biology, so obviously I'm going to navigate towards the macroinvertebrates and the aquatic insects, showcasing things that oftentimes people overlook and then connecting it back to the charismatic megafauna, such as like the wolf and the bears. And there's been some like amazing research that actually connects those 2 species together. With the wolves, you bring back like vegetations and beavers. With dams, you have great, amazing trout habitat. And so it's pretty much like a circle of life out there. The tiny little creepy crawlers underneath the rocks in each stream, or even showing them their first like Yellowstone cutthroat. It's a pretty cool sight of them making those connections themselves rather than me telling them about it. You can't really care or want to protect something that you can't see. What can you do when you go back home to be stewards of the land, air, and water? From like a large city like New York or from like a rural town, it's like, what can we all do as humans? And I think that's a really cool way of like being present in the moment while we're out there in the valley. It's happy tears that I got to show someone their first grizzly bear, so that's good. Overlooking the miles of like landscape and plains and sagebrush and like ridge lines on the mountains, it's like pretty expansive, and knowing that we are like a small part of that. Diversity is beauty. the more you have of something that's unique and different, the more the world is a cohesive place. There's hope for the future and people going back and caring more about these issues.